Hey Reluctant Preppers, this is showing you just how easy it is to purchase silver without paying any premium over spot price. You just go to sdbullion.com/rp, scroll down and enter the special code to get silver without any premium, and they'll mail it to your mailbox, discreetly packaged. Inside you'll find a beautiful 10-ounce bar of fine silver, and you are able to purchase that and have it and add it to your stack and your collection without paying any premium. And you're supporting Reluctant Preppers along the way. Thanks.
As a responsible person with growing concerns for your privacy and personal liberty, you want to know where we're headed and what you can do about it. We ask the experts what you need to do to take prudent and responsible action to safeguard your family's wealth and well-being, and what basic first steps will help you to be aware and prepared. ReluctantPreppers.com.
Welcome back, Reluctant Preppers. We have the privilege of talking with an unconventional guest tonight. We're speaking with Duane Nelson. He is the founder, CEO, and president of Enviro-Leach Technologies. Duane, thank you for joining us on Reluctant Preppers.
My pleasure. Thank you.
We found out about your company through a frequent contributor to our show, David Morgan, also known as the Silver Guru, and he, through his Morgan Report, has alerted his subscribers and now the general public to the existence of your up-and-coming enterprise. And it got our attention because we've had a number of guests on throughout the years talking to us about a concern to the gold production capacity of our planet. They describe peak gold as a point after which the world gold production will continue to decline because of the most fertile the deposits being tapped out and the economic business case becoming increasingly difficult for remaining deposits that may be a lower concentration or more difficult geographies or less stable political jurisdictions, that sort of thing. And there's been some significant interest in that on the part of people who consider gold to be sound money and who have perhaps started to accumulate some to be a hedge against uncertainty and risks of financial turmoil in the future. And one of the things that we've been alerted to numerous times by different guests is the potential that with the ups and downs of the precious metals market, there can be a leveraged response from people who are interested in also owning some of the producers who are either exploratory or developing or production of precious metals. And in this case, you seem to, through your company, be turning the whole business model and sort of breaking through some of these limitations that of sort of historical gold mining deposits by looking at completely new and novel ways of extracting gold and new sustainable ways of addressing new sources, not just underground supplies. So could you talk to us a little bit about what is so revolutionary about the approach that you're taking, and how does it differ from the rest of the gold mining industry and the way that it's been operated for the last couple hundred years?
Well, I agree with everything you just said, by the way. I think that the people are going after the high-grade deposits. It's been a long time since there's been a large high-grade deposit ever made. They're depleting the high-grade sections, and they have no choice but to get into the production of some of their lower-grade resources. But what we're doing is we're taking a sort of a two-pronged approach. In Enviro-Leach, we've developed a non-cyanide-based reagent that can actually selectively dissolve metals into solution, including gold. And that's, of course, our primary focus. And it creates a stable gold complex, which can then be extracted using conventional methods such as carbon absorption, electrowinning, or precipitation. Those are off-the-shelf technologies. The chemistry, however, differs entirely from cyanide, of course, because all we're doing is taking ambient temperature water and we're adding 5 FDA-approved ingredients they're approved for human consumption, actually. And then we're applying a relatively new technology called electrochemistry, and we use pure diamond substrates on the electrodes within that, and it electrochemically alters the formula to the point where it will solubilize the metals in the solution. As far as the leach kinetics, we've done approximately 20,000 assays and tests so far, and we've had 10 months of independent evaluations from some of the top labs in Canada. Leach kinetics are very similar to cyanide. In some cases, it's faster than cyanide. We've had 90+% recoveries in 1 hour. We tested ore for one of the majors, and I won't mention the name, but they were on a 72-hour leach program with some of their high-grade material, which was 10 grams per ton, and we accomplished about 95% recovery in 6 hours versus the cyanide, which was significantly slower. The other good point for this on the conventional mining side is it works with copper, it works in high iron pyritic or arsenio-pyritic type deposits, which are very difficult for cyanide to work with. So that opens up some doors. But more importantly, is it really opens up the areas of companies that have resources in hand but are in environmentally sensitive areas where you're not going to be able to use cyanide. And let's face it, very few people will ever get a cyanide permit, even worldwide. China's even outlawed the use of cyanide in mining. So our timing is very, very good. It will allow small mines or mines in sensitive areas or mines with little water to get into production. The process is very, very simple. I tell some people you put it in a bucket and you stir it with a stick, but it's very similar to an agitated bat leach cyanide circuit, except you require no detoxification, there's no off-gassing, and if it spills anywhere, it acts actually as a natural fertilizer. And one of our partners actually called this the Goldfish Project because we put goldfish in the solution and had them living for quite a while. So it really is an incredible new technology. So that's the one area that we had been focused in, and we are working with some of the majors, and we've done a lot of comparative analysis to the use of cyanide on a broad range of ores. So it appears that the applicability spectrum is quite broad. It could be broader than cyanide. So on the other side, we were contacted by one of the largest manufacturers of electronics in the world, and that's Jabil. And they have 200,000 employees in 100 locations around the world. One of the VPs said to me, he says, if you want to know what we do, just go into a Best Buy store and look, everything you see in that store is either built by Jabil or has components built by Jabil. So they are just a huge force in the marketplace. They build the iPhones, they build the Dell computers, Cisco, the list goes on and on and on. So what they're doing is they're going to be leveraging a lot of their relationships with the manufacturers to acquire the e-waste. So they're trying to offer a cradle-to-grave solution whereby they could build the phones or build the computers, and then for the end of life of those electronics, they will take them back in and recycle them, extract the metals, and do it. They wanted to do it in an environmentally friendly and sustainable fashion. So what's really interesting about our formula is that unlike cyanide, it does not consume itself when it alters the state of the metal complexes in solution. So what we do is we alter the solution electrochemically, extract all of the metals out of the solution. We filter it first and extract the metals out of the solution, and then we regenerate the solution using the electrochemical process again and again and again. So even the formula, the reagent itself, is reusable and sustainable. So what we've done is for about the past 14 months, we've been testing the solution on all types of e-waste. And what I find very interesting about the e-waste is that the grades, the low-grade materials that are going to the landfills are 60 grams per ton. And as I mentioned before, the conventional mining side today is about 1.8 grams average. So we have tested material up to 2,800 grams per ton in e-waste. And unfortunately, there's 44 million tons last year, expecting to grow to 78 million tons a year e-waste produced by 2026. And yet only, according to the latest UN reports, only 8% of it is being recycled. So to put that into perspective, about 320 tons of gold are used in electronics every year, and only 8% of that is coming back. All of that gold is winding up in landfills or is being illegally and improperly treated in third world developing countries, and their capabilities of extracting on a responsible basis are extremely limited. So what we see is about 8 to 10% of the gold is actually being recycled on an annual basis. So, and that's going to continue to grow. You know, the cell phones, you know, everybody's replacing their cell phones once a year now. Laptop once a year, printers. It goes on and on and on. So what we've done is we've come up with a process where we handle the front end and what we call the wet end. So we take the computers and the cards and we grind them into a powder. We electrochemically treat that powder to extract the metals we want out of solution. And then there's tailings that come out, dry stack tailings that come out of the presses, and then we send those to smelters around the world. So we have almost what you would call a zero environmental footprint for the extraction of the gold, and the recovery of the gold. Conventional mining consumes, the last report I saw was about one ounce of gold consumes produces about 1 ton of CO2 carbon equivalents. So we believe we've got an environmentally friendly solution. We've got an alternative to conventional mining on the e-waste side. We're the first ones in this market with a chemistry or a process that's actually working. And so almost all the materials that are being recycled today are going to offshore offshore smelters. So we're going to provide the only domestic solution for all of the OEMs and the recyclers to be able to send their products to us. We'll treat them in an environmentally friendly fashion and then ship the residue that's left over to the smelters worldwide. So we want to limit the amount of international exports, illegal exports that are taking place in the e-waste cycle. So,
in addition to the,
what else is it to tell
well,
you?
I was just going to mention that. In addition, you got me thinking because we've had a commenter on one of our recent stories about the importance of accumulating gold as you approach tough economic times, was warning people about the human rights abuses that are rampant. And also, you've been mentioning a lot about the environmental and unsustainability of certain practices in the mining industry, and then you just mentioned about illegal, offshoring of sort of the dirty processing and that sort of thing. But there's also a human rights aspect to this, that there's some basically modern day slavery going on in some of these operations that are unsanctioned and unofficial, and there's tangled up with drug lords and stuff like that in some of these jungle economies. But in the case of your ability to turn to an entirely new source, this sustainable recycling of e-waste, just looking at it, there's also the potential aspect of this story of ending human rights abuses in a big way in that part of the by providing this sustainable and green solution that's not only eco-friendly but also cuts out some of those human rights abuses as well.
Absolutely. I was on a forum between two smelters, Mitsubishi and the other German smelter, Arubis. And a lot of questions were coming up. This was at the E-Waste Forum down in Orlando, and that is a big concern. And the UN has sanctioned, they've made it illegal now to ship that material offshore, but it's still going. It's still going out. There's a number of investigative reports that show that the outflow of that product is not stopping. And my comment was, if you provide a domestic solution, then it doesn't have to go offshore. You can stop the human abuses that are taking place in some small towns in China where e-waste is all that they're doing. And you've got children running around with such high contents of lead and other chemicals in their bodies. It's just shameful. So the way to stop that is to provide a domestic alternative for these people. And we believe that we are that domestic alternative.
Also, we mentioned just briefly that it changes the dynamics potentially of the availability of viable sources for extracting gold, rather than just looking at the peak gold arguments of natural mining and exploration, that sort of thing, because here you're basically turning to what you're saying is actually in some cases a much more concentrated stream that right now is going to landfills, and redirecting that into a reclamation process, which is good for everybody. What about the other financial aspects of people who might want to who participate in your business model? You mentioned you've already partnering up with one of the largest electronics manufacturing firms, but what do people do if they want to find out more about becoming an investor or participator?
Well, I mean, they can go to our website at Enviro-Leach.com. The people right now, I mean, I've been in the mining sector a while. The people that you're talking about, it's really important, I believe, that they still continue, to take their positions in gold, but continue to leverage your positions by staying in with the majors, staying in with the mid-tier type producers or small-scale producers, because we also believe that gold prices are going to go significantly higher. But all the money in the gold rushes of the past have all been made with picks and shovels. So we are that supplier. We want to, our mandate is quite simple, is to replace, cyanide around the world and provide an opportunity for the miners to get into areas and mine them in an ecological friendly fashion, and alter their thought process with now knowing that there is an effective alternative to cyanide. And then on the other side, I think what we've done is we've de-risked our company very, very well by taking this two-pronged approach, where we've got two of the largest, a $400 billion industry sector and a $50 billion industry sector that's just starting out. So, we're definitely the pioneers in the e-waste space, but we believe that because we've partnered with a $20 billion a year partner that has all of the relationships necessary to leverage the recycling of the end-of-life electronics, we think that we offer a great hedge across all of that. So, yeah, we are a public company. We do trade. I think our share price is around $2 today, but we think we offer some significant upside potential.
The kind of timeline that you're looking at to be able to put into production real sustainable operations of your new process is what?
2 weeks. We expect to have our first plant, which is a 10-ton-a-day e-waste plant. We have a 650,000 square foot facility in Memphis that's owned by Jabil. And we have delivered that plant to them. It's being tested and ran in batch cycles right now, and we hope to have it in full production by February 1st.
Well, Duane, those were the ends of the questions that I had prepared to ask you. Is there any final thoughts you'd like to leave with our viewers who are keenly interested in keeping an eye on developments in the precious metals space?
Yeah, I would, watch what we're doing. We're still early in this space. I think that we barely penetrated this market. There's so many people out there that have never heard of us before, but we think that we're offering tremendous change. And, even David Morgan told me one time, he said, anytime you've got a small company like ours that could alter the valuation metrics of two strong industry sectors, it's worthy of further investigation, and we believe we are that company. And the two sectors, just for people who make sure everybody understands, what I'm understanding from you is that you can be a new process. Essentially, you can bolt on your process to existing gold mining or processing operations to help with eco-friendly extraction there, to get the cyanide and other toxic outgassing and so forth out of their processes. Secondly, you can go to that entirely new source, which is e-waste for electronics recycling, and provide economically viable ways of extracting gold and precious metals from e-waste. Absolutely. And just in closing, I think this is a really important point, is Jabil wants to own this space, and they've got the market prowess to do this. And one of the terms that somebody mentioned at Jabil is that, based on the amount of e-waste that they are confident that they can be collecting and treating, they could become one of the largest gold producers in the world and never put a shovel in the ground. That's how big this is.
Well, it certainly is thought-provoking, and it's certainly mind-expanding to people who've talked about, the limitations and the constraints from traditional ways of thinking, and this opens up a whole new thing. And it's great that it can be so sustainable, environmentally friendly, and human rights friendly. So we'd like to keep an eye on and have you back again as your story unfolds. It sounds like there's going to be a lot happening this year. So we'd like to check in with you again as you've demonstrated, the commercial production, operational capacity, and that sort of thing. So just wanted to thank you once again for joining us here on Reluctant Preppers.
Hey, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.